Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm Bree, and today's video is going to be my most anticipated releases for the rest of the year. I didn't do an anticipated releases for the beginning of the year because I was new to BookTube and I just didn't really know what I would be looking forward to. And I think that was good because what I've been in the mood for has kind of shifted more towards mystery, and I haven't been in the fantasy reading mood. I tried to pick up a Jade City the last month or this month, and I just really couldn't get into it because I was just not in a fantasy mood. And I'm still reading it, but I just am like taking a lot slower. So I think it was good I waited because now my anticipated releases are more leaning in the mystery category. And I've also rediscovered my love of historical fiction, so there will be some of those in here as well. And yeah, I'm just excited to talk about some books that are going to be coming out and what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I think I want to pre-order some of these that I know, and then other ones I want to try the beginning of the series before I decide. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first book I have to talk about is called A Spoonful of Murder by J.M. Hall, and this is supposed to be, it said it was released originally in March, but that now it's releasing in June. So I'm confused if it's out or not yet, but it's still something that I really want to read. And this is about a group of ex-teachers, this is about a group of retired teachers who meet every day at this cafe for just to talk and chat, and or every Thursday, sorry, to talk and chat. And one day they run into their old colleague, and then after running into him, soon he's found dead, and they begin to be wrapped up in this mystery. And the reason it really called out to me was because it actually was said for fans of The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, and then it listed some other ones like Midsummer Murders, but I haven't read those. But I really did love The Thursday Murder Club. I thought it was really fun and a good mystery with also like this element of retired folks that I really enjoyed, and I thought his character work was pretty good. I definitely want to try this because I haven't found something exactly like The Thursday Murder Club since I've read it. And so this is supposed to be one that is very similar. So I'm definitely excited to get to that one. And so the next book I want to get to comes out on June 7th, and it's called A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons. Yes. And that's by Kate Kavari. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone to make sure I get things right. And this is a historical mystery. So it looks like this author has one book out before, but this is her first like historical mystery series. And people said it's for fans of Deanna Raybourn and Anne Lee Huber, which are both on my radar to read. And this one just sounds really intriguing. It's set in 1923, and it's following a woman who's studying botany, and she's at this like dinner with a lot of academics, and one of this people's wives drops dead, and she was poisoned, and because her professor had a fight with the other professor recently, they believe that that professor did it to like hurt that guy. So I think she goes on a venture to clear her professor's name, and I think there's another guy that she ends up working with to help solve this mystery. But the reason it really caught my eye is because she's really into botany, and so she has to use her knowledge of botany and stuff like that to detect what poison was used and to just figure out what's going on. And I really like that from reading the Rexford and Sloane series. Like I really enjoyed having that science be a part of it, and so I'm just like think that something like this would be really interesting. And I think the cover itself looks really cool, and I just think it's one that I'm going to definitely want to read, especially because it has that historical setting. Now, I think it's supposed to be in London. Yeah, in London too. So I also find that really cool because I do like reading about a London setting. Though a lot of historical mysteries are set in London, I haven't read one yet from the 1920s, so I think that will be a cool element because a lot of the ones I've read have more been Regency or Victorian era times. That is the next book I hope to read, and it's coming out really soon, so I guess I better get on it. So the next book actually comes out on the same day. It comes out on June 7th, and this is by Sulari Gentile, and I believe she's an Australian author, and this is called The Woman in the Library. And it just sounds super interesting because is it called a locked room mystery or a closed circle mystery? So if you've ever read Pro, the Murder on the Orient Express, all the people who could have murdered this person are on the train, and you have to figure out like which one of them it is. So I don't know what that's called off the top of my head, but it's going to be a similar thing. Like there's a scream in the library, and then when rushed to there, that person has been murdered, and then there's four people who have been in the same reading room during that time, and one of them is the murderer, and during this time they get to know each other and like start talking, and it's going to be slowly revealed who the murderer is. And I think that sounds like a really interesting premise, and I just think that I really like those kind of stories because it's like trying to pick out all the clues, and you kind of have it narrowed down to who it could be. Like you only have a certain amount of suspects, and I just find that really interesting because I think it's hard to have the element of surprise in those scenarios. So I really like when authors pull it off really well. So it looks like this author has a lot of different books out from looks like mystery kind of series and stuff. So I'm really interested in this book. I think that it could be really really good. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I think it's just this mystery kick for me. Not necessarily thrillers, but mysteries. I've just been really on that mystery train right now, and it sounds like one I'm really going to enjoy. So the next one, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because it's actually the second book in the series, but that is Harlem Sunset by Nikisa Afia, and this is the second in the Harlem Renaissance mystery series. And this comes out on June 28th. So I read Dead Dead Girls by Nikisa Afia very recently. I think I read it in February or something like that. And I enjoyed it. I think I gave it about 3.5 stars. She's a debut author, and I think that there were definitely things that I would love to see improvement on. I thought characters were really well done. I think just some of the mystery wasn't as fleshed out as I would have loved, but I enjoyed her writing, and I think that she really could have like a really good mystery series. The first one is about this woman in 1920s Harlem, Louise. Basically, she works at this cafe, and at night underneath the cafe is a speakeasy, and while she's working there, some girls from the speakeasy start going missing and then are found killed, and they're found killed on the doorstep of the cafe. And then she gets into a altercation, and basically the police, they tell her that she either can work with them to help find the killer or she can go to jail. And so she decides that she's gonna work with them. But I just thought it was really well done. I loved the setting of 1920s Harlem. I just feel like Nikisa Afia wrote it so vividly. I really could picture myself being in that moment. So she's also in a sapphic relationship, which if you like sapphic romance and you're trying to look for that in mysteries, this could be a good series for you. And I just like the friend dynamics as well. And yeah, I just thought she did a really good job for a first book. And I'm excited to see what she does with Harlem Sunset and how it can improve upon the first one. And I'm not really sure actually what the second one's going to be about, but I'm just going to jump into it because I really did enjoy Dead Dead Girls, and I'm excited to see what she can do with it. So the next book comes out on July 19th, and that is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And I think that I should just read the synopsis because I think my interpretation of it just won't do it justice. A reimagining of the island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, and it's set against the backdrop of 19th century Mexico. Carlotta Moreau, a young woman growing up in a distant and luxuriant estate, safe from the conflict and strife of the Yucatan Peninsula, the only daughter of either a genius or a madman. Montgomery Lofton, a melancholic overseer with a tragic past and a propensity for alcohol, an outcast who assists Dr. Moreau with his scientific experiments, which are financed by the Lizaldes, owners of a magnificent hacienda and plentiful coffers. The hybrids, the fruits of the doctor's labor, destined to blindly obey their creator and remain in the shadows, a motley group of part human, part animal monstrosities, all of them living in a perfectly balanced and static world, which is jolted by the abrupt arrival of Eduardo Lizalde, the charming and careless son of Dr. Moreau's patron, who will unwittingly begin a dangerous chain reaction. For Moreau keeps secrets. Carlotta has questions, and in the sweltering heat of the jungle, passions may ignite. And it says it's a dazzling historical novel and daring science fiction journey. So I think that sounds really interesting because I think that I'm not a huge science fiction person, but because I like historical mystery and thriller, I think that adding that science fiction element might be a good way to test the waters for me. But also, I love that it's a retelling. I love that it's the setting, and just that description just sold me a lot for this book. And I've been really wanting to try Silvia Moreno Garcia because I've heard amazing things about her work. So I think I want to try to read Velvet is the Night soon so that I can pick up The Daughter of Dr Moreau and just make sure I like her writing before I dive into it. But I really feel like her premises of books just sound so intriguing. So I'm really, really excited to give this one a try. And I think that a lot of people are going to have this one on their radar just because she is now becoming such a popular author. But yeah, so that's that one. So the next book that I am anticipating is called The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda, and that comes out July 26th. And I am really excited about this one. I have only read one Megan Miranda, but she's that author that I know that I really connected with her writing style and her way of storytelling. So I have a couple other ones that I have by her, and I want to at least get to one before this one comes out so that I can just kind of make sure she might be a author I enjoy, because she could have had a one-hit wonder with me, I guess. The Last to Vanish is following this woman who starts investigating after a journalist goes missing in this place called Cutler Pass, which is a like resort type place. And this journalist was following the disappearances of some people in the area. And I think that this woman starts to try to figure out like what's going on. And I don't want to know more than that because I sometimes think reading the back of thrillers can give away too much of the plot, and I just kind of like going into thrillers not knowing a whole lot about what to expect. And especially with the Megan Miranda, I went in to All the Missing Girls like knowing very, very little, and I think that that really aided me in just in the enjoyment of the book. So I don't want to know too much, but I know that a journalist goes missing after searching for these people who have been missing at this resort place. And I think the fact that it comes out in July will be really nice because I kind of want to read it since it's at a resort. I would love to read it during the summer still because I think it would be a good like summer thriller. So the next book comes out on August 16th, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. And I know next to nothing about this book except for that it's about a girl who I think was trying to take down this cult. I don't know if it's because women have gone missing or a sister has gone missing, but I really don't want to dive too much more into that. I just am sold because cult and a woman trying to stop the cult, but also it's Ashley Winstead, and I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by her. It's one of my favorite books. When I read it, I gave it 5 stars. I think that the way she did everything was just perfectly aligned with my taste. It was kind of like a slower mystery, but there were so many intriguing things to it, and the way she cut between timelines of in the past and present and different POVs, I just really, really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to give her next book a try. I know she recently came out with a romance book called like Fool Me Once, and I am not going to be picking that one up just because I'm not a big romance reader, but I have really high hopes for her next thriller, and I can't wait to get to it, and I think it's going to be one that a lot of people pick up because her book In My Dreams I Hold a Knife was such a big hit. So the next book comes out August 30th, and this is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, and I know that this has nods to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, so I'm very excited. I don't think it's going to be like a true retelling necessarily. I think it's just going to be a nod to that idea, but basically this family, the Darkers, go back to their grandma's manor, and it's her 80th birthday, and they're all celebrating, and then in the middle of the night she is found dead, and one of them is the murderer, and there's a lot of like secrets the family's hiding, and I'm guessing it probably has to do a lot with like getting the estate and the inheritance and things like that, and I just find it so interesting. I really like books like this. I think that, especially Agatha Christie, I'm a huge fan, obviously, so anything that's like a retelling or a nod to her, I want to read it, but also just this idea of like families and inheritance and like who did what for the inheritance, that kind of thing, I think sounds so interesting and is always a book I want to read. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I've seen a couple people get arcs of it, but I haven't really heard anyone review it yet, but I know Alice Feeney is a author that a lot of people like. I've yet to read any of hers, but Rock, Paper, Scissors is one that I've heard of, But really, this is the first one that's like called out to me. I may go try her other ones if I really like this, but this is just one of those books that I'm like, I think this specific plot is something I'm just going to really, really enjoy. And so I want to pick it up. And then after that, I will probably go read her backlist if I really like it. So I have another book that's coming out September 6th, and this is different than the mysteries, but I have to include it in here. So if you have not heard me talk about Garlic and the Vampire, then you should go watch my other videos because this book is just the cutest. So it's a graphic novel called Garlic and the Vampire, where there's this garlic who has to take on a vampire to help save her town of vegetables. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the art style. And this is by Brie Paulson, by the way. And I loved the story. I just thought it was so cute, and I flew through it. Well, Garlic and the Witch is coming out on September 6th, which is the next book in the series, and I cannot wait. So I guess Brie Paulson started off by making Patrick the Vampire, and that's where like the story spun off from, is these like cartoons of Patrick the Vampire. But I'm hooked. Anything that's going to be garlic and the whatever, I will pick it up because I loved it so much. So that comes out on September 6th, and I had to include it in here because definitely one of my most anticipated releases of the year. So the next book is called Murder at Serpentine Bridge. This is going to be the 6th book in the Rexford and Sloane series, and this by Andrea Penrose. And this comes out on September 27th, so it comes out 2 days before my birthday. And if you are new here, you might not know this, but I've been recently obsessed with the Rexford and Sloane series. And I read the first 2 and loved them. And I have the 3rd and 4th right now. And I wanted to pace myself, but now with the book coming out in September, I think I might have to find the 5th one, read them all, so that I can, I'm definitely going to pre-order that one, so that I can just read them all. But then again, I do want to pace myself. But I'm so anticipating this book. I don't know anything about it because I'm not trying to spoil myself, but if you don't know, the series is about this guy, Rexford. He's a lord, and he's also a scientist, and he has a fight with this reverend that was pretty public, and soon after, the reverend is found murdered, brutally murdered, and it's done in like a science, chemistry type way, and so the evidence points towards Rexford as the culprit, and so he's trying to clear his name, and he ends up finding this woman who she writes under the pen name A.J. Quill, which was her husband, but her husband has passed away. And so she takes over writing this cartoon. She does a cartoon, and no one knows that it's actually a woman who's doing this. And he ends up finding her, and they work together to solve what's going on. And it just was really well done. I really liked their dynamic. There's a bit of like a slow burn romance, I can tell. I really liked the science aspect of things. I liked that it really dives into the chemistry in the first one, and in the second book it dives into patents more. And yeah, I just really liked that. I liked also the art side of things with Charlotte Sloane. And this is set in Regency London. So it's, I believe the year is supposed to be like 1830 something. It was perfectly like dark without being overly dark. Like there's a moody aspect to it, but it's not dark like Karen Slaughter or any of those. It's definitely a lighter mystery in comparison, but the mystery itself I had fun with. So the final book comes out on October 11th, and it's called Treachery on 10th Street, and it's a Gilded Gotham mystery. So I recently picked up the first one, which is called Deception by Gaslight by Katie Belly, and that's the first one, and it looks like it's got some nods to Robin Hood in it, and I just think it sounds so interesting. And the third one comes out, so I definitely want to give the first one a try, and if I do like it, then I can easily read the second one before the third one comes out. I just couldn't tell it's going to be a series I enjoy, because I think that this nod to Robin Hood is just something that I know I'm going to really like, because I've said previously that I studied Robin Hood, and I've also studied King Arthur because I studied a lot of medieval literature in school, and those were just 2 that really stuck with me. And so anytime I see a retelling or a nod to those things, just like Agatha Christie, I always pick it up because I just really enjoy it. So basically, I'm just going to read this. There is a woman who's a reporter, and this is set in 1888. So she uncovers a trail of corruption and murder, and there's also a jewel thief who's dubbed the Robin Hood of the Lower East Side, and has been stealing from the wealthiest, giving to the poor. And she is chasing this story, but she gets more than she bargained for. A murder victim sprawled in a dark alley in the dangerous Five Points neighborhood. And she has someone who helps come to her rescue. And yeah, I think that they try to figure out what's going on. And so I really hope I like the first one, and if I do, I definitely will be picking up this one and the second one. So those are all the books I'm anticipating this year. It's kind of a bigger list, but I also didn't want to make it eons long because I just know that I'm not going to get to every book. And this is ones that I really have thought about and I think just sound like books that I will really enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed, and I would love to know what you are most anticipating because there's so many books that come out and it's hard to know all of them, and so there are probably some books out there that you guys are excited for that I have no clue about and would love to read, and also vice versa. So if you want to leave in the comments what books you're looking forward to, I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to subscribe or like if you like the video if you haven't, I would really love that, and I will see you next time.